Let's apply color and gradients to text. So we have our fills and our strokes, and we know that we can adjust fill and stroke in the toolbar, over in our color panel, in our swatches panel. It's all the same thing. So what I've done, I've detached my color panel, my swatches panel, and my gradient panel and docked them floating separate because those are the three main panels that we're going to look at. So to change the color of text, typically you're going to default to a black text with no fill. So I can select the text with my selection tool. Remember my selection tool at the top, quick key is V. And I could then change the color with my fill on top. You can see that it'll allow me to change that fill color there. If I wanted to, so the selection tool is more of a global. If I wanted to just select specific characters, I can highlight those with the type tool and then change that character. Now it's going to be an inverse, almost a negative look until you deselect. So I'll just go back to my selection tool and deselect. So type tool allows us to click and drag specific characters, and the selection tool will select the entire text object. Now if I wanted to change the outline, and you can see, by the way, there's a little question mark there under the fill, and that tells me that I have more than one color going on in this text object. So Illustrator doesn't know, is it yellow, is it red? Question mark, because it's both. So if I bring the stroke to the front, I can then put a stroke on my text as well. And remember that stroke we measure in points. So up at the top here, because of what the tools I have active and what's selected, in my options up here, I get to choose my stroke, and I'm going to increase it. Notice that I'm dealing with type, so it also has an area here that I can change my color and my stroke color as well. So my fill color and my stroke color. Okay, so pretty easy to apply typical fills and strokes. Now what if I wanted to put a gradient on this? Okay, so I'm going to go back to my fill and I'm going to choose this gradient right here, orange, yellow. Nothing happens. It does take my text to black, but it didn't apply gradient. It tells me the gradient is the fill, but I don't see it. So you cannot apply a gradient to text. What we have to do first is convert our text to outlines. And by doing that, we will remove any future possibility of changing my font, of editing the text. Say I realize I misspelled something. That capability is gone because my text is now going to be objects. So I'm going to do that with my selection tool, go under the type menu and create outlines. So it will be grouped to start with. All of the letters will be grouped, and I can see a bounding box around the whole group. I also see little points, anchor points around each of the characters. So now with that whole text object selected, I can choose gradient and it will apply the gradient. Each individual letter is an individual shape. All right. Now, can I apply a gradient to a stroke? Let's just reverse this. Let's see if we can flip it. Right? This little switch capability lets me switch, and I can. Now, for those people that are working in Illustrator CS5 or previous, you cannot apply a gradient to a stroke. You would have to first outline the stroke. But if you're working in CS6, CC, you should be able to apply a gradient to a stroke. Okay, we'll look at this more in detail in future recordings.